The thing that makes Thai massage so special though is not the series and not the techniques, it's the metta. And so cultivating that and just deep presence, and I know that you all have this already, with the person that you're working with is the most important part. You could literally just place your hands on their feet and they will feel a really wonderful experience because of the offering from your heart. So that metta meditation is the foundation of it. And I think that's why it has so much healing benefit. One of the other reasons Thai massage is so healing, like it has the potential to clear things in a single session that I have seen over and over and received and given, and like, I'm not inviting you to be attached to that at all in an idea. We are never going into a session to try to fix anything, but the opportunity for it is there. And one of my teachers says it's because we're working on a soul level, but also physiologically it creates neuromuscular confusion. So it interrupts the body's patterns. And all of a sudden the body's like, oh, there's a new pattern. So I love that too, because what happens is with Thai, there's many different techniques that are similar to Western massage. There's, there's jostling, there's tapotement, there's vibration and friction, there's acupressure. So they'll learn all these little techniques, but what ends up happening is it's a meditation. So the person receiving and the person giving are kind of in this dance together of a meditative flow, and then in that space sometimes beautiful healing happens. Heart healing, body healing, it's just incredible what can happen in this practice. Kind of like acupuncture. Acupuncture has that potential too, like to really clear something and kind of quickly sometimes. So we never again go into any kind of a session with that as our intention to like fix it. People will go, oh, my shoulder, I ask about your body because I want to be mindful of what's going on for you, but we're not going to try to fix it today. But you might find that you feel better. So it's kind of beautiful like that. One thing that I find about the body too, and when we're working in this way with it, people tend to, when they've had a lot of injury or had a lot of illness, they tend to start to feel very fragile. And it can be a potent reminder to say, we're really robust and resilient. The body has incredible potential for healing and seeking homeostasis. And if we give it the right environment and presence, that can happen. So I always remind people, especially who have been long time persistent pain and chronic conditions, just where can you kind of lean into the body as a resilient place? So that can be really beautiful too. And change, because if we're really like back injury, for example, we tend to be really careful. And in yoga classes, we tend to use words like be careful and things like this that in modern pain science and research shows that it can actually exacerbate conditions to promote the idea that the body is fragile. So I'm not going to tell you to be careful today. I'll invite you to be mindful, okay? But everything that we do should feel good in your body too, as the giver. And that's the ultimate goal in Thai massage. I'll share the Thai medicine prayer. And one of the lines is that may this healing medicine encircle the world. Every time I say that, it gives me the chills. It's just so beautiful. And that's kind of the idea that as you're giving, you're being healed as much as the receiver is. It's this similar in shamanism, actually. I keep bringing that in because we're talking about it, but there's this infinity symbol, in a way, of energy. And you can feel it as you're moving with a person's body, because we're going to move people into stretches, and we're going to move them in sort of a rocking, soothing way. If you think of as like a mother rocking a baby, it's like that energy that we cultivate in Thai. So it's so sweet. And so I've been practicing for a long time. I've had a lot of training. I go to 2 or 3 trainings every year because I always want to be learning and always be learning. And I'm always learning from the bodies that I'm working with too. There's people that I'm working with in sharing this in all different ways. So it's the coolest practice, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So we'll begin with a meditation. If you need to move around, that's totally fine. If you want to like take a walk while you're meditating, that's fine. Walking meditation. Metta is a meditation you can practice while you're driving. You can practice while you're at the grocery store. You can practice everywhere, because Metta meditation is the practice of offering love, loving kindness. And we begin with ourselves. You probably all have practiced Metta meditation. We begin with ourselves. In the West, when you're teaching to newer practitioners, you generally start with someone that you love dearly, because we're not really conditioned to love ourselves, right, in a big way. And then we'll move through relatively quickly today, but the traditional practice is like an hour long. Today we're going to do about 15 minutes for time's sake. But it is an invitation to practice this, at the very least, the morning of when you're giving. So, and then weave it in your day. And you'll see there's kind of a prayer of Metta, or an offering of Metta that you create, and that's why you can do it when you're driving, when someone cuts you off, or, you know, you can do it. Loving kindness. And the science on it is really cool. Metta meditation has been studied, and it increases gray matter in the limbic system. So the area of the brain that's responsible for empathy. And so it actually builds our capacity for this. As we do it, our capacity grows. And there is one layer of this where we bring in someone with whom we have a difficult relationship. And I'll just share, when I first started doing this, we'd all be crying. I don't want you to bring in the most difficult person first. Bring in someone just a little difficult. And over time, you find that you bring them all in, right? But you build your capacity slowly, because it can be a lot to try to be like focusing on the person who's like hurt you the most in the world. And that can be a lot. It can be beautiful, but I just recommend doing it slowly and gently. Don't call them in first. At one point I asked my teacher, because I practiced with the same teacher for over a decade, I was like, I don't have anybody left. Like, I've gone through my... It's on all the steps. And she looked at me, she's like, don't worry, you will. Maybe not today, but you will. It was really cute. I'm like, okay. So there will always be someone you can call in, whether the person who cut you off in traffic or like, you know, whomever. But the most difficult one, it definitely say for a longer practice and for when you've cultivated this a lot in your life, and then it can become easier. And it can be a beautiful practice for healing and forgiveness as well. But today we'll do the person in the street. So I'll invite you to just close your eyes or gaze down the tip of your nose and